What is up, Flick fans, and welcome back to my channel. I just watched the brand new Netflix movie called Apostle. This is movie review number 1 today. I hope to have 2 more coming out. Potentially 3, something special might come along the way, but I have to get through this one first. And right now we are talking Apostle, the brand new movie directed by Gareth Evans. You have Dan Stevens, you have Michael Sheen, a very talented cast. I was excited for this movie the first time I saw the trailer. I'm like, that's it. That is something that could be special. And I'm a big fan of the Raid movies. So if you guys don't know how my reviews work, I like to talk about the good, the bad, and then give you my score. Like I said, a lot more reviews to come out today. If you guys want to check out my first main review, it's on my channel, but let's get into the good. So in 1905, a drifter on a dangerous mission to rescue his kidnapped sister tangles with a sinister religious cult on an isolated island. That's a pretty accurate description because the cult aspect of this movie is what really intrigued me. I'm like, okay, is it going to go down the Wicker Man route, or is it going to go down the route that I think it could go, something different, something intriguing? And something that maybe is a bit ambiguous, because I always like when movies in this time period about something like a cult kind of leaves you like, all right, I don't really know what's going on here, but you got enough answers to satisfy your taste. And that's kind of how I feel about Apostle. It didn't answer every question that I had, and sometimes that really frustrates me. There have been Netflix movies that have come out this year that did not answer the majority of fans' questions, and that is something that frustrates a lot of people. But I do think Apostle is going to cater better to fans than something like Hold the Dark, because Apostle at least answers enough and gives you a lot of on-screen glory. Not necessarily glory, I think that's the wrong word, but when you're talking about filmmaking, it's all so well done. They integrate the special effects with the very sparse action scenes, and I'll get into that a little bit later. The action scenes were good, they were just a lot less than I anticipated, and the movie does start out slow, and I mean very slow, and it takes you a little bit to kind of get that build-up, but I feel like the build-up was necessary to give you that third act, the third act that I thought paid off everything that they set up in the first 2 acts. But the main thing here is, are you attached to Thomas? Are you on board with his mission to get his sister back? Because if you're not emotionally invested in him, I don't think you're going to be on board for the rest of the story, and I do think they did a really good job. I'm not going to say a great job, but a good job of getting you attached to his character. It starts out, you're like intrigued, but you don't really necessarily know what's going on, and you don't even know why he's there, but then you start to figure it out. You're like, oh, okay, let me retract that. You know why he's there, you just don't really know the attachment that he has to that place, and that never really gets explained, but you start to figure out, oh, this is that, this person is in charge of this, but you also have this conflict going on within the cult, and that starts to rear its ugly little head within the third act, and you really have 2 stories going on. You have the clash at the top of the cult, and then you have this man who is just trying to get his sister back, and when all of these story elements begin to collide, then you have Apostle. You have the movie that you have been waiting on for the first 40 or 45 minutes. And I'm not saying those 40 or 45 minutes are bad. It is what is going to determine whether or not you are on board with this movie. If you don't like the first act, then I don't think you're going to be on board with the film. But if you can get through it and manage to get to the really good parts of the movie, the parts that I believe are worth watching Apostle for, then I think you are going to like this movie as a whole. And for me, I really like this movie as a whole because I was invested within the first 40 or 45 minutes, even though I did feel the length, and that's never really a great thing. It's gruesome, it's bloody, it makes you angry. Not angry at the movie, but angry because certain people are getting blamed for things that they did not do. And in movies, I always get so frustrated. I'm like, why is this person being treated like this? They didn't do anything. But that's the power of good filmmaking. You start to feel for the characters, and I really like that. Also, I've never seen a rabbit's throat get slit and it be so accurate before, so not a spoiler, just it was a cool thing. I mean, it wasn't a cool thing, it was a bad thing, but it was cool looking. And I think the best thing I can say about Apostle is it's just really good directing. It's intense. And Austin, how did you feel while you were watching it? Well, I will say I was kind of on the edge of my seat. I wanted to see if he could accomplish this mission, but I also wanted to see how these things within the cult played out. What these really creepy looking things, the imagery in this movie is kind of horrifying, but what this meant. I wanted to know, is this place actually like, I don't want to say it, I just wanted my question answered. But with the good always comes the bad, and there are definitely some negatives to this movie. Like I said, the first 40-45 minutes, they are slow. If you are not on board, then I don't think you are going to get into the movie. And it's not like a First Man slow. First Man is based on a true story. You had to get through these events to get to the actual story. I would say it's more of just like, where are we going with this? Because First Man, you know where it's going. With Apostle, you don't really know where it's going. You don't know who you have to attach yourself to and why these characters right here are important. And then you start to figure out this character means this. This character gets killed, so this is going to happen to this other character. And then when it all comes to a head, like I said, that's for me when it really started to get interesting, even though I personally was kind of invested in the first 40-45 minutes. And even though I like the sense of mystery and it didn't make me really angry, there are questions that do not get answered. The ending especially leaves you like, all right, what does that mean? Why is that happening? It's never necessarily explained. Now, it's not something that's going to frustrate me personally. I think it might frustrate certain people, but it was ambiguous enough and interesting enough to like, okay, maybe that's what's going on. Maybe they were right about these certain things being real. That's all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil anything about the ending. But yeah, I kind of liked the ending. It kind of left me like, I'm satisfied. I'm kind of disappointed with what happened to certain characters, but I'm not angry. And me personally, I like an ending that leaves you asking certain questions. Now, when it gets too far and you're asking too many questions, that's when it's really frustrating. But for me, Apostle was kind of the right balance. There were a few characters that were not fleshed out to the level that I think they should have been. Some people will say this movie is shallow. I disagree, but some of the characters should have been. You needed to be invested in all of these characters because all of these story points, they kind of tie together at the end, but you weren't because I don't think there was enough fleshing out of certain characters. And I don't know whether I should blame that on the plot or the script, but regardless, I think these characters needed a little bit more to get you 100% fully behind them, even though the actions that take place, they were pretty frustrating because these characters, some of them are just, they look crazy. But overall, I really like this movie. I'm kind of on the edge of loving it. There were a lot of things in there that just really interest me as a fan of filmmaking. And because of all of those reasons, I am going to give Apostle a 76%. I think it's really good. I think certain people, it's not going to necessarily be for them, but I still think it's worth a watch on Netflix. If you're into like period pieces, thrillers, the cult aspect, I'm not saying I'm into the cult aspect, but it's interesting when it plays out on screen. So thank you guys so much for watching this review. What did you think of Apostle? That's the most important thing. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Please go in the comment section down below. I do a Netflix review every Friday. Today I'm doing 2, potentially 3, but I don't think I'm gonna get through the whole Haunted on the House Hill series because that's a lot to get through. But as soon as I do, I'm going to try to do a review for you guys. You are the absolute best, and I'll catch you later.